Hey, what's good? Welcome back. This is going to be part two, my 5 through 1 on 10 of the more underrated hip hop diss tracks. Um, of course, with the climate in hip hop right now, I felt like it was a good time to drop it. It was something I planned on dropping this summer, so it was right on time, right on cue. But yeah, those last five that I dropped, I feel like a lot of people may roll their eyes at a few, may laugh, whatever. Hey, those are some heavy hitters. I would not want a person to ever drop any of those tracks against me. That's all I'm saying. And for the most part, every track that I did name in the first five were like deciding factors in their situation. So like, we never got a response after Ice Tray. We only got a tweet. I don't even know if Joe Budden even knows Lil B dissed him or not, but I definitely didn't hear nothing about that. Of course, the Mariah Carey track, I said we got an Eminem reply track, but again, I don't think that track was for Eminem. And the Trick Daddy song, they actually went from there to doing a collaborative track, which was the Memphis Bleak Round Here remix. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know what I mean? And again, like I said, the T.I. track, which is, the Shawty Low beef, which is the one track that got a reply, the effect of it still affects T.I. to this day. So, those are real heavy tracks. But I'm gonna go ahead and start off my top five. These five tracks, man, they all could have been number one. I struggled to pick a number one. Believe it or not, I think this is my seventh take, and I've tried starting this top five off with every song and see which one I felt the most okay with putting at number five, and that's gonna be the Young Jeezy "Stay Strapped" Gucci Mane diss. Oddly enough, this conversation had came up recently amongst me and my friends. Yo, the way he reorganized the ASAP track, which was a pretty big track for T.I. And that's something I noticed, man. T.I. his name lingers around a lot of hip hop beefs, dog. But anyway, to stay the course, of course, Gucci and Jeezy fell out. If I'm not mistaken, it was over the rights of So Icy. I don't know. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Um, but hey, as far as So Icy the track go, it's a banger. It was a hit. And somewhere along the line, the boys fell out. Someone ended up getting killed. Everything. People got locked up, and it was a real rash beef. It was something that hopefully for the two of them, they won't have to endure anything similar again. We got a lot of good music out of that little scuffle. But Stay Strapped, I feel like was the end all be all track. I don't think Gucci I don't think none of the tracks Gucci put out can touch Stay Strapped. I felt like at the time, man, Jeezy was just simmering a little hotter than Gucci. Not even a little. He was way hotter than Gucci, and he did a good job at cutting that shit off right before he catapulted to the top of the hip hop game. And so kudos to Jeezy for that. Again, I'll leave the links in the descriptions. Go back, listen to that track, bar for bar, slaughterhouse. It was a slaughterhouse. So yeah, I placed that number five. Again, that could have easily been my track number one. I want to go deeper into like the backstory on this beef track, on this diss track, and on that Gucci Jeezy beef, but I'm limited with my recording device. So again, if I get enough encouragement too, I'll go into the backstory on a couple of these things. You feel me? But for now, I'm gonna put Jeezy Stay Strapped number five. They don't get enough credit. I never see that on the top hip hop diss tracks list ever. I don't watch a top 50 and didn't see that shit on there. And that's just crazy. So I had to put it on mine, yo. You feel me? All right, cool. And at number four, this is only number four because it actually gets some recognition. Again, I sat and dug through. To this day, from when I first started the topic, I probably looked through about, I don't know, 40 top hip hop diss track lists and videos and what have you. And this situation made a few lists, but not this track. You know what I mean? And I feel like this track was probably one of the greatest diss tracks in hip hop history, and it goes to one of the kings of hip hop beef, and that is The Game, 300 Bars and Running, G Unit diss. My dude. When I
My mom took me some goodie. I want to buy a 50 Cent City. I took that shit home. That shit was whack like a motherfucker. I fuck with game.
When I tell you game, you talking about the game who broke off from G Unit. Again, it was never made clear. I always felt like the whole exposing who wrote for who thing was baloney and hoopla. I kind of feel like with the documentary, they kind of did the documentary similar to how they did the All Eyes on Me. It's just, Game isn't Tupac. I feel like when it came with the game got a lot of tracks that were ready made from people like 50 Cent. You know what I mean? I'm like, maybe This Is How We Do was a track 50 had already had primed and queued, and he just slid it on the Game's project, what have you. You know what I mean? Daz Dillinger did a lot of that. A lot of people did the same thing for Tupac on All Eyes on Me. I guess where the difference comes in that was, there's no taking away from the credit from Tupac's credibility as a writer, and maybe Game felt like 50 was trying to take away from the credibility, but though I do feel like those type of things should remain in house. That type of information should remain in house. For it to leak, had it leaked, when it leaked, I wouldn't fall out over that. Especially not if it's true. Do I know if it's true? I don't know if it's true, but nonetheless, that led to a situation where the Game still had a little more pressure on his chest. Felt like he had something to say about the situation. For the most part, he poked at him. When he finally got, 50 replied, Lloyd Banks replied, and I think Young Buck replied, and that gave Game the green light to go ahead and just murk all them niggas. How you from Cashville and you ain't got no cash, nigga? Say my name, nah, that's your fucking ass, nigga. Kept your mouth shut and I gave you a pass, nigga. Now I gotta lay you down like the last nigga. Oh my God, the part he wrote for Buck was like despicable, dog. It was crazy, dog. I really gotta 300 Bars and Running was probably my favorite song around the time it dropped. It was the reason why I bought that second album, The Doctor's Advocate. It was the reason why I bought it. I like that track more than the One Blood track. Like, man, big up the Game on that. I gotta put him at number 4. I wanted to put him at number 1 again. I wish I could have just put him at number 1, but like I said, this track does get some credit. It just doesn't get enough considering how good it is. So again, number 4, I got Game, 300 Bars and Running. Shout out to the Game. He's one of the hip hop kings of beef. He freaking slaughtered Meek Mill to the point where I remember a little talk coming out about a ghostwriter writing. Well, you got people wondering if a ghostwriter writ your shit, you snap. So that nigga checked Meek Mill ass. Yeah, Game is an underrated lyricist, man. He's very underrated. But on this track, I gotta give him love. Shout out to the Game. All right, but yeah, speaking of the Game and 50 Cent and G Unit, the Game wasn't the only person to put his pen against G Unit and come out and what I would consider victorious. They also had to have their stake with Rick Ross. And I feel like, for sure, I never saw the Lloyd Banks video of him giving head, but even without 50, and I think 50 really, I think Game wounded him, or at least showed that he could be touched. And Ross came and put hands on 50. Of course, he didn't kill 50. 50's still relevant in hip hop. And until he decides to no longer be in hip hop, he will be. It's not up to no one but him, no one else but him. You know what I mean? But he did catch an L against Ross, right? But all that said, the track that I have at track number 3 was actually written by 50 Cent, and it's called Tia Told Me. Now, anyone who knows that track knows that track deserves to be number 1. Yes, it do. It deserves it. Man, it was so hard putting this top 5 together. You won't believe what Tia told me. Oh my God. When I tell you, I think Fifth put out 4 or 5 diss tracks against Ross. That was the only good one, but that shit was so hard. It was so hard. If he would have put that one out first, he probably would have won the beef. But by the time he put it out, Ross had pretty much buried him. So only like people who were still entertained by 50 really know about that track. And people, of course, who keep a close ear to things like that know about that track. That is a hidden gem in 50 Cent's discography. Just so happened to be a diss track at Rick Ross. And it's an amazing track, man. Yeah, man. I got to give Fifth his props, man. I love Fifth, by the way. But I definitely got to give him his props. Tia Told Me. Mwah, magnificent track. I wish I could have put that at number 1. But, yeah, I had to put that at number 3. You know what I'm saying? And sure. With that said, I guess I could go ahead and get into number two because again, I don't really have the time to give backstories on things. This is another track that not necessarily me. I really want Hussein to give the backstory on this track, but if not him, maybe I'll do it. That's of course if it's in high demand. Who knows? But number two, I have Lauren Hill, Lost One, Wyclef This, homie. First of all, everyone who knew I was putting this list together had heard me say that this was going to be my number one. And unfortunately, I feel like I found one that probably can top it. It's no way in the world is it a better song. This is the best song on the whole list, first of all. You know what I'm saying? And, yo, it's funny how money changes situation. Listen, when I tell you, man, Lauryn Hill slaughtered Wyclef, man. That she is definitely the queen of hip hop. No ifs, ands, or buts. And, you know, of course, unfortunately, that track came as a result of us losing the Fugees. Unfortunately, we lost maybe one of the best groups of all time in the history of music, and the Fugees. And so, unfortunately, that came with the song. But man, listen, hey, I really encourage you guys to go. If you, of course, I'm sure most of you listening have heard that track. If you've never heard that track before, I really encourage you to hear it. It's a must-have on your playlist. And though it's a diss song, it's a great song. It's just a great song, period. I won't get into too many more details about it. But yeah, it's at number two. It's really, I guess you could say 1B, because it's my pretty much my favorite song on the whole list. It's still on my playlist, and it's probably the best diss song ever in hip hop. You know, or well, put it this way, it definitely deserves to be mentioned with the hit 'em ups, the ethers, the no Vaselines. You know what I mean? It definitely deserves to be mentioned, like in that same crowd, and that's why it's definitely number two on my list. Though some do acknowledge it, it definitely deserves to be acknowledged more. And again, that's another track, as well as the 50 Cent Tia Told Me track, where with all the list I looked on, I never see it. I never see Lost One on anybody's top hip hop diss tracks. And it's crazy to me for somebody to put a track out like that and like it just gets like lost in the wind like that. Like, that is crazy. It's beyond me, man. But anyway, damn, I don't want to make a part three. So this what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just finish this one. All right, but so anyway, before I get into track one, before I get into the number one most underrated diss track, I'm gonna just give a few shots out, a few honorable mentions for one, I wanted to give a shout out to the T.I. I'ma Do Me remix verse. Of course, he had got smashed by Luda. That verse makes top 10 lists all the time, and I don't know, enough credit wasn't given to the way he responded. Of course, Luda won that, but man, he responded hard on that I'ma Do Me remix. I gotta give a big shout out to Trina when she went at BG on that What's Beef. Shoot, you may not have heard it, but shoot, man. And of course, I gotta give a big shout out to Corrupt on that Calling Out Names. I got put onto that track late, like years after it had been made. But when I got put on it, it was a track that I had in heavy rotation, and it's definitely a dope track. But at number one, it's not exactly a song, which is why I say, maybe Lost One could be 1A or 1B. But it's the verse that Jay-Z put on that T.I. Watch What You Say to Me. Now, of course, he doesn't name drop because that's the way of Jay-Z. But at that time, he had been clashing with Lil Wayne. And so I got to say, that was a verse at Lil Wayne. And it was probably the nastiest little verse ever that I ever heard a nigga just spit at a grown man before ever in my life, okay? And Lil Wayne did not deserve to get smashed like that, okay? Lil Wayne is one of my favorite rappers, okay? But Jay-Z, put pause on that boy, okay? Listen, it is disgusting. That is on that T.I. vs. Tip album, Watch What You Say to Me. It is disgusting. Like, I'm out of time. I got to cut it short, but definitely, I definitely encourage you to listen to that. That's probably the best, most underrated hip-hop diss track / verse in the history of time. Shout out to Jay-Z for that. Shout out to King Hova. Shout out to every artist on this list. Shout out to hip-hop as a whole. We waiting to hear if Drake gonna reply. Hopefully he replies. This has been fun thus far. Big up the Bomb Squad. Shout out Bomb Squad TV. Shout out all the subscribers. You guys make sure you like and subscribe. Holla at your boy Young Hay. Peace.